a twin. Now, Moni convinced the trusting and distraught couple to raise the boy as a girl due to his damaged gender. Now, he removed David's genitalia, and David was raised as Brenda. Now, I actually saw this documentary on Netflix, and let me tell you something, folks. It was heart-wrenching. It was unbelievable. It was a crime against these twin boys like you cannot believe. And yet it was done in modern times by modern doctors in this country. Now, glowing medical journal reports that followed and are still cited today were nothing more than the medical industry circling their own wagons. By age 12, David was severely depressed, Brenda. By 14, his parents told him about the surgery, and he begged to be made whole again. He underwent yet another surgery to try to reverse the damage done to him, but by Dr. Moni and his Keynesian colleagues, but continued to be haunted by it all. It was later reported that Dr. Moni had sexually molested both of the kids, both of the twin boys, during exam procedures, and he forced them to have incestuous sexual activities with one another at the tender age of 7. Now, ultimately, both brothers committed suicide within months of one another. Because you had a bunch of perverted freaks who were trying to say that even though this is against nature itself, well, let's leave God out of the picture for a second. This is against nature itself, but it's okay. It is deviancy at its worst, folks. This is why I am not going to say that Bruce Caitlyn Jenner is brave and is a hero. The man needs mental help. Plain and simple. We've seen it over and over and over. Look, you are born with an innate sense of who you are sexually. Yes. And I know you get some of these people that say, well, you know, I was born a girl, but and I was just reading something today about transgenders serving in the military. And how difficult that is for this girl who's now a quote unquote a man that has to take these injections on a weekly basis in order to get the proper hormones. So in other words, she's not a man. You know, she can bulk up all she wants to taking steroids. You know, women can do that too, even those who don't, you know, chop off their breasts. But you know, and you can even look at her. I'm not even going to call him him. You can look at her from a profile point of view and say, boy, yeah, she's really kind of feminine looking for a guy, huh? Well, it's because he's not a he, he's a she. And no matter what you do on the outside, your DNA and on the inside still says you're female. And you can go ahead and, I mean, you can be as bulked up. Yeah, you can be stronger than the average guy, but you're still going to be innately not as strong as a man. Because you're not. You're missing, there's a lot of stuff about the human body and the human being and the DNA process that we just do not know. So there's a bunch of stuff that we're missing when we're trying to fool around with this stuff. So I am not going to be supportive of Bruce Caitlyn Jenner for fostering this false notion that now he's going to be something so totally... Why the hell would you want to be a woman? I'm sorry, but, you know, I love women to death. Love them. But being a guy, I don't know why you'd want to be a woman. I don't get it. Why would you want to be somebody, quote unquote, weaker? In all kinds of societies. I mean, it's just the nature of who we are. Why would you want to go down that road and be something that you're not? just so you can try to placate in your own sick, twisted, demented mind that you're something that you're not, so you can pretend for a little while. And then after a while, you're going to realize, I can't believe I just did that to myself. Now, through this tragedy, this isn't the only story of its kind. Dr. Paul McHugh, a former psychiatrist in chief at Johns Hopkins Hospital and author of Try to Remember, Psychiatry's Class Over Meaning, Memory, and Mind, says that the heart of the problem is confusion over the nature of the transgendered. He cites a 2011 study at the Karolinska Institute in Sweden that followed 324 people for up to 30 years who had sex reassignment surgery. The study showed that about 10 years after the surgery, transgendered people began to have increased mental difficulties as they progressed through life. Their suicide mortality rose almost 20 times above the comparable non-transgender population. So McHugh points to the data as evidence that the high suicide rate trumps the typical surgery prescription propaganda by many as the answer to gender confusion. Sorry, folks. I know Bruce Jenner is 65. But frankly, looking at these numbers and looking at these studies, he might not make it to 75. Just saying. And that is such a bad thing. And this is what we want to foist on the American people, and to other. This is what we want to foist on young Americans who might be confused or having some mental difficulty. Oh yeah, just change your sexual identity on the outside, and everything will be fine. You'll be so sweet. You'll be beautiful. You'll look like Caitlyn. Sorry, folks. That's not the way it goes. Hey, Apple. Apple is, by the way, did you know that Baltimore is now being flooded with narcotics? Because, the police have kind of stood down a little bit in Baltimore. But it's not that they're being flooded by narcotics, the drug problem, because of the police standing down. But the problem is that they're finding out that these drugs that are flooding the streets of Baltimore are the drugs that were looted in those drugstores like CVS during the Baltimore riots. Just thank you, Democrats. So you wanted to give them room to destroy, and they're continuing to destroy their own city. Just saying on that one. This is from Newsmax as well. New Apple tax rules could change the game for media companies. Now, I was reading this and I'm thinking, I didn't realize that there was a so-called Apple tax. If you have an app or something, the revenue that is generated, you got to pay Apple 30% of that revenue. 30%! Apple isn't doing a damn thing to earn it, but, it's on our platform. Yeah, big freaking hairy deal. 30%? But now they're changing their tune because they're starting to offer their own systems or apps in Apple and to have they're not paying themselves a 30% fee, so they can't continue to charge everybody else that same high rate because they could get sued for it and be in violation of certain laws and regulations. Apple is currently charging app publishers a 30% cut of all in-app revenues. That's similar to what Google is charging on its Play Store, with one key difference. Apple is also requiring publishers to apply the same fee to all subscription signups initiated through the app. Now, this has long been a point of discontent for media companies. Now, you want to talk about being just a little bit greedy, if there is such a thing as being greedy, and all you freaky, wonderful leftist liberals love Apple. Why? Looks like to me that Apple's being a little bit greedy here. Trying to take revenue that doesn't even come from their well, indirectly, I guess it does, but directly does not come from their app store. Now, it has basically been a point of discontent for media companies and arguably complicated more subscriptions. For example, Netflix offers Netflix offers no in-app subscriptions at all via its mobile iOS app. Customers have instead visited the Netflix website in their browser to sign up and then go back to the app to start using the service. And I have Netflix on my phone, and I didn't notice where I could sign up for Netflix through the app, but it is what it is. So they're going to be dropping the Apple tax simply because now they're coming out with their own stuff, and they need to appear to be fair. They need to appear to be fair, or else they're going to get trumped and throttled by a bunch of people over in Washington D.C. And that's probably the basis of unfairness, is when you start dealing with people in D.C. Because they don't know how to be fair, actually, over in D.C. They don't care to be fair. It's just their way or the highway, which I don't think is actually very fair at all. But, it is what it is. Richmond resolution. This is from San Francisco, CBSLocal.com, from the San Francisco Bay Area. Now, this was kind of funny. Richmond resolution on space-based weaponry prompts flood of calls to police from targeted individuals. Yes. Richmond is in the San Francisco Bay Area, so Richmond police have been inundated with calls for help from people who feel under attack from space-based weaponry because of a city council's resolution passed last month, according to Mayor Tom Butt, B-U-T-T. I can't make this stuff up, folks. Now, Councilwoman Jovanka Beckles introduced the Richmond resolution in support of a 2001 bill introduced by then Representative Dennis Kucinich of Ohio in an effort to ensure that Richmond residents would not be targets of space-based weaponry. It's imperative that Richmond adopt this resolution in an effort to stand in solidarity with residents who claim to be under assault from space-based weapons that should be outlawed by the Space Preservation Act, Beckles said. Now, Kucinich's resolution never passed, but versions of it referred to alleged technologies, including chemtrails, particle beams, electromagnetic radiation, plasmas, extremely low frequency or ultra high frequency energy radiation, and mind control technology. I kid you not. So you're going to be safe if you go out to Richmond, California, folks. Well, we have come to the end of this broadcast week, as well as broadcast show. We'll be back here on Monday, folks, so have a great weekend. Enjoy your freedom while you got it. I'm Rod Eccles. This is the Rod Eccles Show. I'm out.